I've got it up and running. It's recording right now. Good morning, Tom. Hope you're doing good out in Utah and the weather's holding out for you, with fall and winter coming. So, this morning, I just really wanted to talk to you about a couple of products that, they've kind of, I guess in my opinion, they get kind of pushed to the back burner as we bring out some of these new exciting products, like the H-Pill and the CBD. But, if we could this morning, if we could talk a little bit about a couple of products, the Supra Detox, and then also Balance D. Why are the Super Detox and then the Balance D such important products that people they shouldn't skip over when they're making their monthly orders?
Which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, let's talk about the Super Detox.
Okay. Super Detox is, there are a lot of things that you can take, largely for constipation that's in the marketplace today. Most of those just increase lubricity so that the constipation can move easier down the track to get rid of it. But some have a little bit of a stimulatory effect on the biological processes within it, but it's all just for the release of the fecal material. The problem is with that is, you get that release as a bulk amount of it, but through the digestive system, you take in nutrients, food in your stomach. It goes from there, it gets broken down by the arch acids that are in there. That's why stem cells in the stomach, and nobody knew that, dog, but they only last about 6 to 8 days. They have to be replaced. The cells don't have to replace them. So it's a very short lifespan because the environment in the stomach is so hard. But anyway, once it's been broken down, corroded away, so to speak, there are some things that don't corrode. Those are the elemental nutrients that you take in. And then it passes into the small intestine. In the small intestine, it has to be absorbed through it into the body. But that's an inefficient way to do it. If you've ever seen the length of a colon, it's not that long. And as fast as food's processed through it, most of it would not get surface contact with the walls and the linings in the small intestine where the nutrients are absorbed. So the way that God and nature, through his natural processes, has designed this, it has a structure within it that is called villi. And they're like, think of it like fingers. And it's all of these fingers sticking up. And you can even think of it like a hairbrush that was within the tube, where all the hairs were coming out from the sides of the tube. So what happens is these are mechanisms that it actually resembles very similarly to what you see with coral. Coral's an animal, and it feeds on microscopic nutrients that are flowing through the seawater. But what they do is when they come out, usually at night, but anyway, they come out and then they extend all of these tentacles out because the coral itself is not that big, but it's like an umbrella opens up, but it's all like fingers and tentacles waving out. So they have much more area to catch those nutrients from. And that's the same principle in the small intestine with this. So all of these villi, they're just like, it's just fingers up everywhere with it. And the nutrients have to flow through that. And so instead of going, let's say if they went an inch, that have a certain amount of contact with the outside edge. But if the villi are there, your absorption level is increased exponentially. In fact, is maybe 1,000 times as much, 500 to 1,000 times more, because they're like a finger. Look at all the surface area around the finger that sticks out compared to moving the distance just across the finger. See, that's small in comparison to all the sides and everything laid out. And that's the principle behind it. So these villi are absorbing the nutrients because it's a short time pan, and you really need this time frame to be within a reasonable lifestyle so that you can take in the nutrients you need for health and rebuilding and all those things. So they couldn't possibly be absorbed if it was a smooth tube they went through. Instead, it has all of these fingers sticking out by the hundreds of thousands that absorb it all. So I say that because I'm not trying to give you a lesson here in human biology, but what I'm really telling you is how it works. But because it's there, guess what happens? A lot of the food that you eat is not used, and it's discarded as waste. And it's just like waste also is the decomposition of cells within your bodies and other things like that that are discharged. But the bulk of it is from things that you eat that aren't really nutritionally valuable. They might be bulk. And so as a consequence, they come through in mass and the nutrients are broken down. So you have to filter feed them out. And that's what it is, filter feeding with that. So it pulls them out. However, this material, when the nutrients are taken out of it pretty well, or as is happening, starts to deposit, because between these fingers, it's just like sticking your hand down into some jam, and you put your hand all the way in and you brought it out. Well, your fingers would be all sticky, but as you held your hand up, see down in the bottom between the two fingers, you'd be collecting jam. Well, that's what happens with the villi in the system. So they start collecting what's called, it's a plaque. It's called mucoidal plaque. Now, this mucoidal plaque is really thick and tarry. And in it, it contains very large amounts of toxins, especially toxic heavy metals for one, because it just gets in the tar pit, so to speak. So now as the mucoidal plaque starts to build up over a length of time, because of the amount of food you eat over a number of period of years, as that starts to build up, you start losing your ability to absorb the nutrients on the percentages that you did when you were younger. And the longer you live, the less it gets. In fact, as I saw, and I don't know how they came to this, it was a number of years ago, but John Wayne, the famous movie actor, when he died of cancer, but they did an autopsy on him, and they found that he had about 60 to 70 pounds of mucoidal plaque in his lower intestine. Now, that's a lot, but, proportionately, I think we're all moving along that same area of what we're doing. This is why a lot of people in nutritional science are saying you should eat fibers. And some of these products that you use for digestive tract are fibers because they have a scouring effect, almost like sandpaper, if you can think of it that way. Scouring effect is it goes through to kind of scrub off some of that mucoidal plaque. And it's somewhat efficient. It improves flow. It can help against constipation because it's breaking things loose. But in reality, you're building up a dense mucoidal plaque, and less of those villi, the length of it is sticking out to absorb. But now you have it absorbing all of the toxins that are deposited, or most of the toxins that are deposited in mucoidal plaque. So this is the real story, kind of like National Enquirer, and they used to have something like that. If you want the real story, here it is. This is a whole story about it. But if you look at all of those things, then you want as little mucoidal plaque as you can have in your body, and it's impossible. It's like if you never brush your teeth, how much plaque would you get on your teeth? So this principle is kind of the same. So what we've done is I've gone out and I've looked around things that would do a number of things to mucoidal plaque. Number one is to solubilize it, to break it down in a variety of different ways. Enzymes play a big part of that type of thing, as do some other types of materials. So it becomes, instead of impacted, it becomes more fluid. And so it goes from like a hard paste into a kind of a jelly. And then the next facet that comes through is something that works with the lining of the villi and of the lower intestine to make it want to secrete, so that the mucoidal plaque, it's doing it anyway, especially when you're younger, but to your small intestine. So now it becomes dischargeable. And if you've ever tried Super Detox, I heard a guy once say, don't take it and travel. And boy, I'll tell you, that's really, because when it decides to release, it does release. And so it's not the kind of thing you'd use every day. You use it once in a while. I'd use it probably once a week anyway. If it was me, it will keep you very regular. But it's not just keeping you regular, it's keeping you very healthy because it is solubilizing, dissolving, releasing the mucosal plaque that is impacted within the lower intestinal tract, so it just flushes out. And so that's a major difference between ours and anything else that's being used. In fact, it's one of the most common that's being used. They have milk of magnesia. You've seen that for constipation. And what it does is milk of magnesia just kind of is not absorbed well. And so then there's a little effect that goes against it that helps to improve lubricity, a reaction from it. So milk of magnesia can sort of work on the plaque, but long-term use is not so good for you. But with the other products, they're now using probably one of the biggest sellers out there now, ranks maybe with milk of magnesia, is basically just industrial antifreeze, is propylene glycol. And all they're doing is just trying to, it's water soluble, of course. So you're taking that, they're putting it in a gel, and they think they're able to penetrate, which they are, to the bulk material, and help it to flow out, to slip out more easily. Well, that's great. I mean, that's like if you were hunting elephants, you wouldn't want to take a slingshot, would you? Maybe not even a bow and arrow. You'd want something that has some power to really do what needs to be done. And that's the philosophy that I have. And so I have all of these ingredients in it to solubilize, break down, and I have to use the right word. It's illegal to say stimulant because it makes it a medical product. But anyway, to support the activation of the release mechanisms that will let mucosal plaque release, flow free, and because it's in a solubilized form, can leave the body. Now, this mucosal plaque is not a part of your body, your tissue. Therefore, we can handle the solubilization of that, and we do that with a variety of types of ingredients, especially enzymes that work on it. So anyway, that's how it works. Now you're clean as a whistle, so to speak, if you keep using it, and it won't get it all. I mean, if you have 40, 50, 60 pounds of it build up within your system, which could happen, even if you have 10 or 20, that's a lot. Think of 10, that's 2 5-pound blocks of cheese in the volume. So whatever it is, you don't get it all at once, but you get a disproportionately much larger amount of it than you would through any other system or the natural system. And so you can remove it faster, and that's the key to it. Remove it faster, but where others will not remove it. The others aren't designed to address the removal of it. They're addressed to improve the lubricity or the solubility of the fecal material. So we're taking the right way to do it. We have an elephant gun that we're going after that with because it will solubilize and release the mucosal plaque, and out it goes. And now your surface area, your villi, is much greater, and the plaque, the tars that have been coating it and inhibiting absorption of nutrients are diminishing. And so therefore, the consequences of you being healthier is significant. Now, the other thing, and I hate to go on too much about this because I can talk a lot about all products that I make, and you never knows. It's just, I put all formulas together, so I really head the R&D department, and I know what these things are, so I can speak freely because I have a thorough knowledge of them. And the other thing that happens is what happens in your low intestine. How do you break down a lot of the micronutrients or the nutrients into micronutrients when they leave the stomach in the lower intestine? Well, it's done because of what they call the flora. And that's the microflora of your digestive system. And that has to do with most of you probably heard of good bacteria, bad bacteria, harmful bacteria, friendly bacteria. Okay, there's a balance of those that are within your intestinal tract. And of course, they are so important with breaking down those micronutrients. And if the balance is right, then the system functions real well. But here is the problem. If you have ever taken antibiotics, you have killed off most of the friendly bacteria that are healthy for you, and the bad bacteria actually take up a lot of that volume. And so now the balance is heavy amounts of the bad bacteria, small amounts of the good bacteria with it. So we have, if we're going to clean it out, then if you take an antibiotics, your digestive system is permanently out of whack, and it will not naturally correct itself. It cannot, unless you do something with it. So we have these microbiological agents that we now add into the product, and they replenish the good bacteria that has been so damaged because of antibiotics. And since most people have had an antibiotic, you're out of whack. And even if you think you are, when you take antibiotics again, it puts you out of whack. And you're out of whack permanently until it gets corrected, and it won't correct on its own. So that gives you an idea how important it is to support the good microflora within your system. But it's not a one-size-fits-all. There are many different varieties of the bacilli that you need in the system. So, I mean, a lot of people are familiar with acidophilus. It's a common one that's used. But there's new versions of that. They're much more effective. And then there's a few others that are revolutionary and new type of lactobacillus that is exceptional, and some other types of microorganisms that we put in. I won't go through them in all detail because it's not important to know that. But the thing about it, some of them are very effective on proteins, some are effective on starches, on sugars, on the different types of fats that are there. And all of that can break those down so they can be absorbed properly by the body, and the waste can pass on more freely. So this product is formulated for that. And it's done so in a number of different ways. Now, with that, we also have a couple of different types of fibers. So I just talked about products with fibers, and they weren't that effective. But if you can solubilize it and you can get the release, then the scouring power of fibers can remove a lot more too. So this is the elephant gun. We're throwing everything we can at it to make it as effective and comprehensive in every single way. So if we can remove the mucoidal plaque, if we can get rid of the toxins, if we can take down those inflammatory responses, which we all get from them, then we can absorb more nutrients. But if it's out of balance because of antibiotics or your lifestyle or whatever it is, you can put it back in balance. But that needs to be supplemented all the time. And the dosages of this is done in units. And so they're calculated in units. And some of these I put in have got 50, 100 billion colonies, not just of the bacterium itself, but colonies of them. And one of them has 200 billion colonies. And so you can really repopulate that quickly because of this type of technology we use. Now, I explained the science of all of this, and I hope I've got it so it's simple enough. But the important thing is you have finger filters for absorbing nutrients that get plugged up and coated with mucoidal plaque, and it's full of toxins. So you're not getting the nutrients that you need. You got a lot of toxins there. You remove that, and we did that in a variety of ways. Once that's done, then the mission is to take down inflammation within the lower intestine itself, which is a serious issue because with the toxins and mucoidal plaque, you've had it in there maybe 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And that's what's happening. So we can take down the inflammation And then the idea is everything that's been solubilized needs to be scoured out. So we have, well, it's going to flow out anyway because it releases, just releases it, but it releases it in mass. That's why you have such a fast effect from the detoxification of it, because you drop the bomb load, so to speak. And with that, as that happens, then we want that scouring effect to come through and clean it all up and make it even more efficiently, so that anything that's left is free and it can be kind of brushed out as it goes. And then once we're done, you're clean as a whistle, and the product contains the good bacteria and other, they're called probiotics, but that's a broad name. So you'll see companies advertising probiotics. And if you take yogurt, yeah, it's got probiotics in it. Yogurt's good for your intestinal tract. But I can tell you, you could eat gallons of it a day and it'll never put your lower intestine back in whack, because it doesn't have that immense power that we do, where we have like 200 billion colonies in just one of the varieties that's in it. So you'll never get it right. Yogurt's good for you, but it's not. It's going to sort of do a maintenance, and it's going to make you somewhat more healthy. But the difference between a little and a lot is a great deal. And that's what we're talking about. A lot of power, not a little power. And we're talking about looking at this thing in the whole spectrum. So we come at it just like you fight. How do you fight a war? Land, sea, and air. That's how you fight a war. So we're fighting that same thing with our lower intestinal tract, and we're attacking it every which way that it needs to be. And we have the biochemistry in it to do it. So anyway, that's a long explanation, I know, Doc, but that's how the Super Detox works.
Perfect. Well, and you went over the Balance D at the same time, so perfect. No, it's, you explained it in a way that makes sense. So as I was listening to you talk, one of the things that I noted was, when we're talking about fiber, they say that most people in Western societies, we only get about half of the recommended doses of fiber that we're supposed to be taking every day. So that's a really good reason to do that. One question I have, like on the Super Detox, somebody asked me, they said, why can't we just take say instead of taking a full dose, why can't we just take say one capsule every day and get the advantage of it that way, rather than having to do it, say, like you said, once a month or once every, so often?
Well, there's 2 points, and actually I was a little remiss, and I didn't blend the Balance D, and that's where all the probiotics, that's where the good bacteria and all that comes from. I appreciate you reminding me of that, and it also contains all of the fiber and things like that. So the Super Detox is to create the loosening of it, the dissolving of it, and then it comes through with Balance D, and it goes through and then helps to scour it out, repopulate it, do all of those things that are there. So with that 1-2 approach, you come back to Super Detox. How much is enough? And I tell you what, you need to let your body tell you how much is enough. You can take some. You don't have to take it once a week or once a month. If you're taking it once a month, hey, you're not doing justice to your digestive system at all. In my opinion, you should be doing it once a week. But if you wanted to take a smaller proportion and use it on a daily basis, I would do that only after I've gone through some doses to really clean out the massive amount of mucosal plaque that is built up within you. And then you could take daily doses if you want to do it. But for me, and for anyone else, I think they've experienced there's a certain time where you become too fluid, and if you're taking too much, it just continues on that way. So you need to do it so your fecal material is balanced and is discharged properly, and that's just you learning how your body works with the amounts you're using, and then disciplining yourself to use it as often as needed, but not too often and not too seldom, so that your digestive system keeps in balance.
There you go. Well, and these aren't really questions, but just some notes that I was writing down as you were talking. You talked about antibiotics, and a lot of people, they try and avoid going on antibiotics, but if they're buying commercial meat at the grocery store, if they're buying beef that's raised in these big feedlots, chances are they're getting a lot of antibiotics, and you can't cook it out of the meat. It's in there, and so it's affecting it. So that's another reason. Even if you're avoiding antibiotics, you need to be on a probiotic like Balance D. And have you heard the latest studies? They said that they find that this microbiome, these probiotics in your gut, they've got a direct link to your brain. They don't know how it exactly works, but it actually controls your mood. Have you heard that?
Yes, I have. I've seen those studies that are there, and it does it. What they found, and this is recent. This has to do with a lot of the other products we use too, particularly when you get involved with the H pill and then the brain vitality and the TSX and eternity, even to a large degree there. What happens is they're working on specific systems within your body, and in doing so, science has come to the realization that virtually they're saying every cell in your body is interconnected to each other through a network, which they don't quite comprehend all how it works, but it is so complex. So if you're sitting there with 40 or 50 trillion cells in your body, every one that communicates something, it goes through all of the cells in the body. And so if you look at that in a plausible, rational way, is something that affects you in one place can greatly affect you in another, and so your gut can affect your brain and those types of things that you were talking about there. So those are the things to consider. And you say, how is that possible? Well, the body is so complex and it runs on electricity. So what's the speed of electricity? Geez, 186,000 miles a second. And so that is pretty fast. So in reality, what happens to a cell within your body, say it's in your toe, you're going to know it in the brain in a millisecond. Just a fraction of a second, you're going to know it. And that's the way God's, this great design he has had in creating our human bodies, has made it so that this interconnection between every cell, every system together, and they all go back to the brain, which takes that information, puts it back out to the others, so you get a positive response. The problem is, in life, we have so many toxins, and we have such poor nutrition, and we have residual things that happen to us with the aging process. And you hear the statement once in a while, somebody died incidental to age. In other words, what they're saying is they got cancer or heart attack or stroke or something else like that, or it has deterioration due to things that happen as you live longer. However, since the brain has this amazing amount of ability to take in that information, sort it, put it back in practical applications, and do it within milliseconds. There's, like right now, there's 60,000 calculations that are occurring in your brain right now, and it's that way 24/7. So as a result, this massive transfer of information can do a lot of good, but the key to it is the Chinese philosophy, and they say you can live very healthy into a great length of life if you remove the toxins and the waste. So we just did that, and of course you can neutralize toxins with things like Spectromax and those two, and then you provide the proper nutrients to the system, so the brain knows they're there. The brain knows they're being absorbed right from your digestive tract. They can be directed to areas that are needed to, but if they're not in the food, they're not in your body. So, and if your body is out of whack, then it can't take what it's taking in and do it effectively. So it's a very synergistic relationship that you have throughout the whole body, based on the brain and the whole system that goes through that. And there's really, I won't get too deep in it, but there's 3 levels of consciousness that occur within your entire body. And so for those people that think, it's all in your brain, it's actually not. It's just the brain is the master computer that's cycling it all. And so what happens in your knee could affect what happens in your liver. And you say, how does that happen? Well, you go through all those, but that's the ability, and the body is doing it so that it can properly properly maintain itself, but it also can fight these types of things that are coming on, keep in balance. But in our society today, we have such a toxic overload, and quite frankly, folks, most of it comes from the personal care products. 60% of the toxins in your body come from your hair shampoos, your lotions, and things you use like that, toothpaste, mouthwash, all kinds of things. And so 40% comes from food, water, air, say, combined. So that's why we have Sizzle Safe products to start with it. But now we're getting very heavy into specialized things. So I want to be like the Greyhound bus driver, leave the driving to us, and we know how to get you there safely. But you need to know enough so you can justify it. It's got to be logical and reasonable and rational. And that's what we try and do. That's why we have so much expertise in products, because a product is not a commodity to be sold. That's how most companies do it. It is actually a commodity that needs to be fortified so that it's highly effective and as synergistically and as diversely as possible. I won't get into that because I get talking too much philosophy. That's basically the idea.
Right. Well, I mean, and wouldn't you say, and this is what, I try and tell people is that, it's not, you don't want to think of it as an additional product. You can't really think of it as an additional product. You really need to do the detox in order to make the age pill work at a high efficiency. You really need the probiotics and the balanced D in order to make your body absorbs everything else.
Of course, your body is a combination of the synergistic effect of all the systems within it. And one system fails, it does affect another system. If one system is out of balance, it does affect other systems. All of those things are there. So if you consider within your body, let's just talk about stem cells for 1 second, if I can get off course a little bit. I had two of the very world's best stem cell authorities here 2 days ago, and they even stayed overnight with me at my house, and we went through a number of things that are going on. It's very advanced technologies, but and I took them home. They stayed up there at the Maurer Mansion, but we didn't just have dinner. It went on and on. It was just business until they went to bed with it.
Oh, I wish I could have been there for that.
Yeah, it was kind of mind-boggling. But these guys are so expert. They're research scientists and biochemists that specialize in this, and they're beyond what we know. They're right into the very cutting edge of new things that they're doing, and we alone, because of my relationships that I built, we alone are going to be privy to this to add even more sparkle to the products that we're using for stem cells and things like that. But the key to this is understand this. There's everything in your body, all your cells are replaceable cells except the stem cells. They're immortal, so to speak, but they wear out. But if you can be refurbished, then they're really immortal. Like a cancer cell is a stem cell. It's mutated, and the DNA is broken, and it produces a lot of telomerase like TXS would do, and that allows the division rate of the cells to go on. Now, that doesn't mean that TSX is a cancer causer. No, that's not the case at all. It's a health causer because it keeps stem cells it's like a wind-up rubber band airplane. As you throw it out, it goes fast, but then as the band starts unwinding, it slows down and then crashes. It's the same thing there. But if you can keep those telomeres built long, and they're called the igniter, and they regulate the duplication rate of the cells. And so if you have that doing it all the time, then you replace the cells that are wearing out, and your body is mostly replacement cells. There's about 220 different types of stem cells. It all comes from one cell. At conception, you've got it all there in one single cell, and then it grows and diversifies, and that's part of the wonder of what God has done with our bodies. But that's what happens is it diversifies into 220 different systems that are totally stem cell systems that are totally dedicated to regenerating all the different components of your body. And as in the case I mentioned with the stomach, it lasts 6 or 8 days, a replacement cell. So they have just got to be, it's a huge draw there. But the ones in the heart, they're replaced about every 3 years, see? And so there's a difference with it. And even if you look within something like you took and had cells that were specific to one place, that also is quite complex, because and the brain is the most complex organ in the body. But because of that, you have 67 different sets of stem cells in the brain, each one to produce a different segment of what the brain needs. So it shows you the complexity of it. I'm just telling you, I'm not trying to blow you away with it, but you understand the complexity of it. It's a lot. So one size does not fit all. If you have 67 different sets, types of stem cells in the brain, man, you need to address that generally and then specifically too. And that's the way that I look at things and create the products.
Perfect. Well, Tom, I appreciate your time this morning and sharing this information. I know you got to get back to work and to your meetings there, but I'll tell you what, I mean, I tell people all the time, you can't just go to the store, you can't just go online and think you're getting the same thing just because somebody tells you that it's got the same ingredients. Because, you know, when you develop a product, not only do you put in the maximum amount, you make sure that it's the right ingredient. It's not just some flim flam product that the extract that somebody sent you. So I just really tell people we've got the real thing, the real product. We do. I mean, you can have a crude herb or some type of a compound that you're taking, or you can take a highly refined one in great concentrations that are specific to the task that you want it to do. So with the crude one, you get some mild effects, and overall it's good. But with the high purity and the intensity quantities of them that you use, you can have the maximum response as possible. That's how I build products. There you go. Well, have a great day out there. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend, and hope you and your family are all doing well.
Thanks, everybody. Look forward to seeing you as soon as I can.
All right. Thanks, Tom.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So, folks, you heard Tom talking about the Balance D and Super Detox, two great products that we really need to keep in our body. We need to be using these to make everything work together. You can't just buy one product and then go, well, you know, this is or isn't working for me. You want to look at all the different systems. So very important that we look at this properly. So what Sizzle has done for us in October is they put together an October promo special called the Durable Defense Pack. And it's a pack that includes everything to kind of boost your seasonal health, like it says, and give your immune system just that really edge. And this is a limited time pack. So you buy these products and you get that bottle of Influence. And it's flu season, and we want to make sure and lower our risk of having disease. And so they're throwing that in for free. So we got Body Shield, which I've talked a lot about with the fulvic acid. It provides cellular protection, increased nutrient uptake, and it helps with detoxification. Then we have Balance D, which is pre and probiotics, like Tom was just talking about. It's got fiber, it's got vitamin D, and there's more and more studies that are coming out on the importance of vitamin D and how it can lower your risk of certain types of disease and really helps build your body's natural defense system. We've got Spectrum Max, which has 40 different fruits and vegetable extracts, as well as 74 trace essential minerals. And it really helps with filling the gaps with our body. We've got Super Detox that you heard Tom just talk about. We got Balance D that you heard Tom just talk about. Plus, we've got the Cucumber Lime Liquid Hand Wash that really does kill off the bacteria that we're exposed to during the flu and the flu season. And so these are really, really important products. So I thought, what a great time to talk about about the Balance D and the Super Detox. So everyone, you have a wonderful day. Thanks for being with us. Have a great weekend, and let's look at improving our health overall. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Well, there you go, Katie. What do you think of that? That's a lot of great information, wasn't it?
Fantastic, Kurt. Thanks for getting Tom on the call. It was just brilliant. That information is amazing, and I'm going to have to go back and listen to it at least two more times just to pick up all that content and great information, because there's a lot of detail in there, and just fantastic. So I'm even more excited about the products now.
You bet. I took notes as he was talking, and then I went back, and I've already listened to the call 3 times. This is my 4th time listening to it, and because I want to be able to explain it with people when they ask me questions, I want to be able to discuss it with some knowledge.
Yeah. Fantastic. And so, the information is very valuable. So if anyone listening to the call, it's always good to listen to it a second and a third time. So, because you just pick up so much more information.
You bet. Now, do you guys have the same October special there that we do with this durable defense pack?
Yes, I believe we do. They're trying to keep the specials the same for the US and Australia.
Excellent. I was just on Facebook about 2 hours ago, and I said with the winter coming already here, I know you guys are into your summer season, but with winter coming here, I just said, with this special go on, it's a great time. We're going to have 6 months of winter. Let's order up on this. Stock up.
Yeah, definitely. They did send an email around for this promotion. I think it is in the US pricing. So, of course, we buy in New Zealand dollars. So ours is a bit more because of the conversion. But yes, we do have this special, and we do get the bonus product as well. So,
yeah. Yep, and all these products work together, folks. I mean, that's the whole thing, is that, like I was talking to Tom about, I said, it's crazy. He's talking about this new XXXX product that he's coming out with, and that's not going to be the name of it. That's just what he's calling it till he figures out what he's really going to call it. But, and then he came out with the age pill, and he came out with the CBD, and all of a sudden, some of these other products get put on the back burner, like the Body Shield and the Super Detox and the Balance D and the Influence, and we don't want to do that, do we, Katie?
Oh, no way. And especially considering what the information that we've heard, and we know a lot of the disease starts with the gut first, so we want to keep our gut health healthy, and these products do fantastic, fantastic to support the body.
Yeah. Didn't you just have a great testimonial on the Balance D? Someone in your group was just talking about how they had a really bad, long-lasting sinus infection. That was in your group, wasn't it?
Yep. So I don't know if he's on the call at the moment, Chris. He was suffering from hay fever, and I said, "Are you taking the Balance D?" And he said, "No." I said, "Well, try the Balance D, because that issue is coming from your gut." So he took the Balance D that evening, he said, and the following morning. And then the next day, his hay fever had subsided. And so pretty incredible. And I looked it up. I looked up the ingredients in the Balance D. There's a particular strain of bacteria in there that is, now we can't make claims on our product, obviously, but if we talk about the actual ingredients, there is studies to show that that particular strain of bacteria can definitely provide massive support to allergies and hay fever.
You bet. Yeah, I read that testimonial several times on Facebook, and Chris, I'm glad that you shared it with everybody. So, Katie, I'll let you close out the call. Anything that you want to add? It's such an important topic, the digestive system. I just tell people in my clinic, it used to be one of the first things that I'd ask people. They'd come in with a headache. I'd say, "How often do you poop?" And I know sometimes they laughed at me like, "What are you asking that for?" And I said, "Well, I mean, it has a connection with the brain, and it had connection with back pain, and like Katie was saying, it's probably one of the major connections with almost all chronic disease." So, Katie, I'll hand it over to you, and I'll let you close out the call.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us today on the live call, or if you're watching the recording, thanks for watching. And feel free to share this information with friends, family, and loved ones, because it really can be a life changer. And it's just fantastic information. So thanks again. I hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you. Everybody have a great day. Bye-bye.